Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating, honestly pretty esoteric perspective on one of history's ultimate mysteries, the true origins of the Inca civilization. We're looking at a unique source text that makes a wild claim, that the history we all know, well, it might just be the tip of a much older, much stranger iceberg. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if the Inca Empire was actually a 7,000-year-old successor to Atlantis? I know, it sounds like a movie, but this is the core, provocative question at the heart of our source material today. Now, strictly according to the spiritual readings detailed in this text, our standard historical timelines are basically missing a massive chapter. It claims that way before the Inca Empire we learn about in school, there was an ancient predecessor, one with roots tying directly back to a legendary lost continent.
So to really wrap our heads around how massive a shift this is, let's compare the timelines. Mainstream history generally says the societies that eventually became the Inca Empire emerged maybe 1,500 to 2,000 years ago, peaking around the 15th century, right? But the source text we're analyzing today asserts something radically different. It claims an ancient Inca civilization was thriving 7,000 years ago. That's right, 7 millennia. It describes this hidden predecessor as a highly advanced society that was up and running thousands of years before the familiar history of the Andes even started.
And this brilliantly illustrates what supposedly happened next. According to the source, when the continent of Atlantis faced catastrophe, the survivors didn't just vanish into history. They fled, and they seeded two parallel successor states. Over on one side of the globe, they laid the groundwork for ancient Egypt. But on the other side, they crossed over to the Americas to establish the ancient Inca civilization. The book argues that these two totally distinct cultures actually share a single hidden origin story.
The sheer scale of the disaster described here is just massive. The source claims that Atlantis was this highly advanced civilization that roughly 10 to 14,000 years ago sank literally overnight in a sudden, cataclysmic continental collapse. In the face of that sudden destruction, only a tiny fraction of the population actually managed to escape. They fled by any means necessary. The text even mentions them escaping in, quote, flying ships in this desperate sort of Noah's Ark scenario, just trying to preserve whatever fragments of their world they could.
Section 1. The Mountain Sanctuary, Surviving the Cataclysm.
Which brings us to a pretty major geographical mystery. Think about it. If you're fleeing a hyper-advanced coastal civilization, why on earth would you build your new epicenter in the highlands over 4,000 meters above sea level? Logically, and the text itself points this out, coastal areas are just way more convenient for survival. You've got easier access to food, milder climates, simpler transportation, the whole shebang. Yet, according to this narrative, these Atlantean survivors deliberately bypassed all that easy coastal living. Instead, they chose some of the most extreme, thin air elevations on the entire planet to rebuild their world.
So the crucial point is how this source actually explains that extreme choice. It really boils down to survival instinct, driven by immense trauma. First off, there was the deep psychological trauma of watching an entire continent sink beneath the waves. To them, the ocean just wasn't safe anymore. Second, the text claims the Earth was undergoing severe global climate change at the time, shifting toward this heavily vegetated, tropical environment that made lower altitudes super difficult to manage. And finally, unpredictable crustal displacement. After surviving such a massive geological shock, they believed the absolute safest place to anchor their new society was as high up on the solid bedrock of the mountains as they could possibly get.
To anchor these esoteric claims to some real geography, the epicenter of this 7,000-year-old mountain civilization was supposedly centered right around Lake Titicaca, stretching all the way toward Machu Picchu. The source suggests that right now, beneath the dense jungles and accumulated sediments of this region, a highly advanced predecessor civilization, one with incredible knowledge of astronomy and pyramid building, is literally still sleeping there, largely undiscovered by modern archaeology. But here's the thing. They didn't just isolate themselves up there. The text shares this absolutely fascinating detail about a quote-unquote salt road. Even though they chose to live over 4,000 meters high for absolute safety, they obviously still needed resources from the ocean. So what did they do? They engineered a logistical lifeline, a literal road stretching from the dizzying heights of Lake Titicaca all the way down to the sea. This let them transport vital marine products like sea salt straight back up to their mountain sanctuary. It created a truly unique, high-altitude lifestyle that was distinctly different from their sister civilization over in Egypt.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. Beyond Earth, the extraterrestrial connection. Now, this extreme altitude wasn't just about escaping rising waters and unstable crusts. According to the source, it served a completely different cosmic purpose. The text literally states, because it was a high place, beings flying from space frequently came, and interaction with them began. We're just impartially reporting the source's claim here, but it's a wild one. It asserts that building their civilization over 4,000 meters high, getting above that dense lower atmosphere, literally brought them closer to the stars. This elevation supposedly made it much easier for extraterrestrial beings to visit, opening up a direct line of communication between these ancient highlanders and visitors from space.
And this interaction had a highly specific, ambitious goal. The ancient Inca were desperately attempting to restore Atlantis' lost glory as an Earth-based hub for cosmic exchange. To pull this off, the text claims they constructed advanced mountain pyramids and utilized their deep knowledge of astronomy. They were actively working to rebuild a, quote, space exchange base right there in the Andes, hoping to reconnect with the universe and reclaim their ancient heritage as a starfaring people.
So, what does this all mean? That brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If, as this text proposes, highly advanced civilizations can simply vanish overnight due to cataclysms, only to be completely reborn in the most remote mountains on Earth, what ancient secrets are still sleeping beneath the jungle today? It's a seriously provocative question. It highlights the text's overarching theme of cyclical history, this idea that humanity's timeline is much longer, much more complex, and infinitely more mysterious than we currently realize. It definitely leaves you looking at those ancient Andean peaks with a whole new sense of wonder. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and keep exploring.